Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on the AutoTrail Chieftain SE. So based on the 2006 Fiat Ducato chassis, this one is the 2.8 turbo diesel. So what I tend to do on these videos is I'll start under the bonnet and show you right through there. I'll then walk my way all the way around the outside, show you everything on the outside, and then I'll go inside after that. Now obviously this is a pretty large vehicle, so it is going to be a fairly long video, so bear with me, yeah, I'll get started. So under the bonnet over on the left hand side, we've got the engine battery. So this is the one that actually starts the engine and is the one that you would need to get to if you needed a jump start. You've got various fuses and relays and things like that attached to this. This is all to do with the motorhome side of things. So everything on this left hand side here, all of this sort of, fuses and relays and things like that and wiring is all to do with the motorhome. So don't worry too much about any of that. If you're, if in the future at some point, God forbid, you get some sort of an issue with the cab, then everything cab related is in this box over here or behind this cover, if it's not in the dash somewhere. Okay, so engine related stuff is these two here, and sort of leisure side of things is all this area here. Okay, so next to that we've got your brake fluid up here attached to the servo, power steering fluid here at the front. Your engine oil gets topped up through this one here, and your engine oil dipstick is this one just here. You've got a little paint sticker just here. So 249 is the touch-up paint colour that you need for the cab. All right. We've then got two chassis plates down here. So this one here is the original one from Fiat. So you can ignore that one because when it was sort of converted into a motorhome, you actually had the option of the Alco chassis. So it's a bit more of a heavy-duty sort of like galvanised chassis. From as far as I'm aware, it's galvanised. Anyway, so this is the actual chassis plate that you want to look at for all of your kind of like weights and things like that down there. All right, so if you ever need any of that information, then it's all on that plate just there. To the right, we've got your engine coolant in this reservoir at the top. Washer fluid sits inside this little reservoir down here to the right, and your air filter sits inside this box over here. Okay. So, to be honest, that is about it for under the bonnet. There's not much else for me to show you through that. The headlights, to be honest with you, we sold the vehicle before to a common customer of ours, but I'm not sure if we've replaced them or not, but they do look brand new. So whether we've just polished them up or not, I'm not sure, but they do look absolutely brilliant. So yeah, that's about that for there. So the diesel filling point is behind this little cover here. So you push on the left-hand side to get that to release, and then you can open it up. You will need your ignition key to get into the diesel filling point, but that is where that is. Inside the passenger door, not much to show you. I'll show you a few bits when we get round the other side to the driver's side. On the actual passenger door, obviously got the electric window and handle. Just behind the passenger seat, you have got a fire extinguisher. I must admit, I think it probably is out of date by now, according to like the HAB checks and things. But it is there if you want to use it, obviously. Well, obviously you don't want to use it, but in case you need to. Inside this lower cupboard is your twin leisure batteries. So you've got two leisure batteries down here. So you don't have to do anything with this area. You just kind of leave it be. But I'm just sort of pointing out to you that this is where it is. I'll lock that all up after the video. Right, so the awning itself, full-sized wind-out awning. There is a winder in the vehicle in the back locker just there for this. Unfortunately, I can't really show you on the videos because I've only got one hand free and I'm on my own. But just winds out. Probably come out about as far as this other vehicle here, so they are quite a wide winding awning, and this is actually a really good size one, so it's probably, going by the length of the vehicle, you're probably looking at a 5.5 meter awning there, so it's pretty well the longest one you can get. The other nice thing about the AutoTrails of this sort of age is that they kind of sit into the vehicle a little bit, so as opposed to one which sits directly on the side of the van, it really doesn't stick out very far. So, should save it from being clipped on trees and whatever in the future. So the actual habitation door, the entry door here, you've got a little sort of stay just here. So if you do that there, you can see it latches in nicely. So it's not going to flop around in the wind and all that sort of stuff if you have it open. You have got a window on here. Just literally squeeze the bit in at the top there and pull the window down. And so because of that, you have got a blind and flyer screen from the top there as well. The factory fitted bin just here as well. You can remove this nice and easily by twisting this piece open, and then the bin will just fall out towards you. All right, so that's nice and easy. And then the electronic step comes out with a little switch on the left-hand side here. So if I press up, brings the step in, and down brings it out. We've also got a little switch to the right of this, which is our sort of entry light above the door. Okay, so you can use that as and when you need to. And I'm not sure exactly what that one does, but I will find out. Okay, so to the right of the door, we have got your sort of safety things on here. So we've got the Fiamma twist lock just here. So you can twist that around over the door if you want to. And then we've got what they call a D-bar here. Now I can't really open this up, so we've not got two hands free. But you pull the little handle down whilst pulling this around. And basically you can either lock it in position like this, or you can lock it in position across the door. So it's up to you how you want it. You can use it as a handle to help you get in, basically. Okay, so next thing we get to is our external gas point. Now they put the external gas points here on the near side under the awning so that you can have a barbecue outside under the awning. So if it's raining or something like that, you can still do it outside without getting soaking wet. So that is a nice thing to have just there. Basically, as long as you've got the gas turned on, you should have gas coming out through that socket. Right. Next things, you've got these two vents just here. Now, these are both to do with the fridge. So if you have got the fridge lit up on gas, don't be surprised if you can hear a little bit of a sort of burner, sort of whooshing noise down in this lower locker. Now, you don't need to get to the back of this unless you have a problem with it, so you shouldn't have to get to that at all. Didn't have any issues with it, I don't think, on the habitation check. There's no issues with that. And, you know, so you shouldn't have any issues with it at all. But I'm just letting you know that that's where the access points are for the fridge. So because you've got onboard tanks on the motorhome, you have got a freshwater filling point just here on the outside. So if I just grab the keys out of my pocket, if I can actually get the keys out of my pocket, it'd be nice. Any lock that looks like this one, a sort of circular one, all right, will be either this key, little circular key, or you've got another one on here as well. So let's just find out which one it is. Obviously it'll be the other one. So key goes in, twist it until it won't go any further, and take the key out. So now that I've done that, I should now be able to push in and round to the left, and that will release the filling point. Okay, so that's how you would lock it and unlock it. So opposite way round to lock it, push in and round to the right until it stops. I can then put my key in, which I can probably guess I'm going to choose the wrong one first. Yep, absolutely. So key in, twist it until it stops, key out. And now when I go to twist it, doesn't matter what I do, it just spins around. I can't take it out. Okay, so that's how you would lock and unlock the freshwater filling point. And that is where you would fill up your fresh tank from. Okay, so in the rear locker, we have got, first of all, a light over here on the right-hand side. What looks like front windscreen blinds just here, I would imagine. Little main socket just here. This is your awning winder. Okay, so you can extend that to make it as long as you need. We've then got the center rafter for the awning. So because the awning's so big, they do give you this center rafter. Now you don't really officially have to use this. If you're going to go all the way, as in you're going to wind it all the way out, then I would probably recommend using it. It's really easy. You quite literally just hook this end and the other end onto the awning. So one end will be on the lead bar of the awning that comes out, and the other end will be on the actual cassette of the awning fixed to the vehicle. And then you adjust the length of this with the little adjustment on the end. So it's really, really easy. Once you give it a go, you'll realize how easy it is. But this just gives it a little bit of extra strength in the center of the awning to stop it sagging in the middle. Okay. And then we've got this here, which is a winder for the steadies at the back of the van as well. So if you want to just steady the vehicle up a little bit, then you can do that. Now I will just say, these are not, like levelers as such. These are steadies. So they will adjust the size, the sort of angle of the vehicle very slightly. But if you go too far and end up kind of like actually lifting the vehicle up, then you're going to run into some serious problems. These are just kind of for steadying the vehicle up a little bit. It will make a hell of a difference, but if you start trying to lift the van up with these, it's not going to go very well for you. So just try your best not to do that. Don't go too far with the steadies. Okay. All right. So at the back of the van, we've got reversing camera up the top just there. Original ladder to get up onto the roof just there, and obviously your centre brake light is up on the top little spoilery part just there. The spare wheel sits inside this sort of cassette at the back just here. To get this out, you take this little cover off just here, which again, as I said earlier, is one of your little circular keys as I've just shown you. Take this off and there's a big nut at the back. So you undo the nut and you'll be able to take this whole thing off and have good access to the spare wheel. Obviously got the bike rack just here as well, and tow bar at the bottom as well. So if you are going to be towing something, obviously just bear in mind the sort of trailer weights and things like that for the vehicle, but it's all there if you need to use it with the electrics there as well. So on the off side of the van, we obviously have just got the other side of the garage here at the back. These little planks of wood, by the way, are basically for using those steadies normally. So if you do, if you need to put a little something underneath it just to sort of level it up a little bit more, then you can do that just there with those. They're not for the wheels. They're not going to do anything on this sort of van. So yeah, there you go. And then just also another little point. This is going to be for, I believe, for the waste drain off point. So if you need any, further length on the waste, then you can have a go with that and get it going somewhere else. So off side of the van, obviously this is a tag axle vehicle, so you've got twin rear axles, all looking in good condition, drives absolutely wonderfully, haven't got any qualms with that at all. So the toilet cassette is the next locker we get to. So to remove the toilet cassette, we lift up on the yellow tab at the bottom here and pull the cassette towards us. So once you've got it to this point here, you will then be able to take it all the way out and walk it to wherever you need to go to. Okay. From there, all you need to know really is that you twist this part open just here and actually drain it from this point here. So you unscrew this off. When you're physically draining it out, you should always hold down this little orange, yellow button at the back just here. Okay. So always hold that yellow button down to release a little bit of pressure whilst you're draining it out. Now, once you've drained it out, you use this as a measuring cup. This cap, you will notice it has actually got measuring cup, what do you call it? Measure indicators on the side of it, if you like, forgotten the word, for, checking how much fluid you're going to put back in. But about one cap's worth of blue fluid goes back inside the cassette, give it a little swoosh around, and then push it all the way back until you hear that click. Once you've heard that click, you can know for a fact that it's definitely, fixed in properly and ready to use again. So that's it. Nice and easy. We've then got external hot and cold water point. So if you have in the vehicle somewhere, I can imagine there's going to be a shower point. I haven't, to be honest, I didn't do the hab check on this particular van. So I'm kind of learning a few bits whilst we go. But yeah, this is an external hot and cold water point here. So this is a standard bullfinch fitting. So you push it in and twist it. Whether you want hot, you go all the way to the left. If you want cold, you just go a little bit left. So it's, fairly straightforward. All right, so that's nice and easy. Obviously, you will have to have the water pump turned on the inside of the vehicle to get that to work as well. So just down here in front of the rear wheels on the off side of the van, we've got your wastewater drain off point. So quite literally, to drain it out, you lift this little tab or twist it whichever way it needs to go to, and that will start draining out the wastewater. Bear in mind that it will come out really quite quickly because this is a big drain off point. It's not like the smaller ones with just this, really small finger tight thing. These are a big drain. So just bear that in mind. When you open this up, it might kind of splash around a little bit. Another sort of wet locker down here. So you can put whatever you like in there because it's plastic lined or fiberglass lined. So you don't have to worry about that getting sort of damp or anything like that. We've then got a nice big storage locker just here. Okay, so you can use this for whatever you like. This, by the way, in the locker is what's called a Touring Connect kit. So basically, if I just show you on the other side, if you have what they call a drive-away awning that you want to fit to the side of this vehicle, and you need a adapter to get it onto the actual awning that you've got, then you'll need that Touring Connect kit that I've just shown you in the locker. So the awnings, depending on what type that you've got, the awnings can sometimes, so I zoom in a touch, be, sorry, I'm trying to point at it, but, so you can see the little channel on the bottom of the awning there, all right? What we call the awning, this is basically a canopy, a wind-out canopy, like I said. But if you have what's called a drive-away awning, and some of them will just slide straight on to that point that you can see up there, and some of them will need that connecting kit that I've just shown you on the other side. So it depends which type that you get, if you are going to get one, but just bear that in mind that is in there. So coming to the end of the outside now, so we have got this little vent on the outside here. Now you have got a cover for this, which I've taken off already down there. So please don't forget to take that cover off if you are going to use the boiler. So this is just the vent for if you're going to get the water hot, this is the vent for that. Okay? So just bear that in mind. Make sure that you take the cover off and make sure that you don't go touching this if you've had the boiler on for a while, because it does get hot. Next thing, we can see I've got the electric hookup plugged in at the moment. I've got the hookup plugged in so that I can show you, you've got a couple of mains powered lights in the vehicle. And I also just wanted to make sure that the batteries were 100% charged up and, ready for collection. But yeah, so hookup's plugged in so I can show you a few bits inside. Having the hookup plugged in is a really nice thing. It's not essential, but if you're at a campsite where you have access to having a hookup plugged in, it's always a good idea to have that plugged in. As soon as the hookup gets plugged in, your leisure batteries are being charged up by the charger and you have access to any of your mains powered appliances. So everything will spring to life as soon as you plug the hookup cable in. Now, in this particular case, you have got solar panel on the roof. Okay, actually, I think you might have two on the roof of this one. And so the leisure batteries are being charged up all the time that you're outside. So you're going to have good charge all the time anyway. But it's just one of those things that it's just a nice little thing to have if you do have access to it. If it's not too expensive to sort of upgrade to having a hookup, I would really recommend it. Okay. And the last locker on the outside is the gas locker. So in this particular case, you have actually got a single gasset refillable bottle. So the refill point is on the actual locker door itself. So if I was to close the locker down right now, you would see it's just basically a bayonet fitting in the UK. And it takes a few seconds to get that plugged in. If you are going to go abroad, you will need the corresponding country's adapter. So, France, Italy, Spain, they've all got different adapters for the gasset refillable point there. So you have to bear that in mind as well. But basically, it's a pretty straightforward sort of system. So at the back just here, you've got the valve to turn the gas bottle on. So anti-clockwise, around to the left all the way to turn it on, and clockwise around to the right all the way to turn it off. Okay, really is as simple as that. Now I will say, it's really good practice to turn the gas bottle. In fact, it's not just good practice, it's essential really. Make sure that you turn the gas off before you start driving. All right, if you don't turn the gas off before you start driving and you're in a crash, the last thing that you want is 30 millibars of propane pumping around the vehicle. Okay, so just please turn the gas off before you start driving. That's really, really important. But yeah, that's it really. So that is all of the sort of lockers and bits and pieces on the outside that I can show you. So I'll jump into the cab now and just sort of show you through what we've got in here. So first things first, please don't forget that the handbrake is on the right hand side of these. It's the same for all of these Fiat Ducatos, but just please don't forget that. The amount of times over the years that I've jumped off, and I promise you it hurts, so just bear that in mind when you're getting out of the vehicle. Don't smash your bum on that, which I've done so many times. It's not fun. So on the door itself, we have got the electric adjusting windows and electric mirrors just here as well. So basically, choose which mirror you want to move, like that, and then just move it like a joystick. It's really simple. You have got the steering column adjustment just here, and your bonnet release handle just to the left of that. If I jump in. So, reversing camera screen is this one just here, and when we got this vehicle in, it didn't actually have this, so I'm assuming we've taken it off a different vehicle. But this is the original sort of entertainment system / original reversing camera. So I can only imagine that the original reversing camera doesn't work anymore. But if you do want to use this as your entertainment system, as in a very small TV, then you can use it from here. Okay, I'll show you that in a bit more detail in a minute, because we have got all of the controls for that are sort of in a locker in the back, so I will show you through that. But as I said, you've got your more modern reversing camera just here, park safe system, so I can only imagine we fitted that for the previous owner a long time ago. So the front windscreen has got a full blind just here, all right, which lifts all the way up to the top. And I'll just see if there's anything else. No. Okay, right, so the left-hand stalk here is your standard lights and indicators. Right-hand side is washers and wipers. You've got the standard 5-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is lift up and over to the top left-hand side, like so. Now, I believe that this is the original stereo. I don't hold me to that, but I think they are. When they're Blaupunkt head units there, I'm pretty certain that's what they used from standard. Although saying that, you have got the option of the DAB and BT, so it might be more modern, although I'm pretty certain that is the same brand. But anyway, so you have got a USB socket, aux socket, option for DAB and Bluetooth radio, so you've got loads of different options on there. So you can connect your phone up to it, answer and decline phone calls, all that sort of stuff. So have a little play with that if you want to. Below that, we've got your hazard lights and your fog lamps either side of these. Okay, and then below that, all of your heater controls just there. Now, I very rarely explain the heater controls because they're just sort of self-explanatory. All right, you don't need me to explain those to you. So on the seats themselves, these are swivel seats. So on this one here, lift the tab upright and you'll then be able to swivel the seat around. As I said earlier, I've only got one hand free, so I can't really do it. But yeah, really simple. Lift it up on that one and twist it. This one is slightly different, where you pull the handle back like so, and then you can twist the seat. Okay. So really nice access to walking straight through into the cab just here. So it's, no problem at all to do that. And yeah, so layout of the vehicle is a ever popular one. So we've got the front lounge area here. So you have somewhere in the vehicle, just sort of, it might be in the over cab area here. Yeah, so you've got a full-size table inside this little locker here. Okay, I'll put this back on it properly in a minute when I've got two hands free. So you've got a full-size table up in that locker over the top there for your lounge area here at the front. Now this does very, very quickly and easily turn into a big double bed. So this is where the 4-berth side of things comes from. So really, really quickly, literally pull these parts together here, and then you've got a massive bed there. So it takes a few seconds to do that. Huge kitchen just here. So obviously we've got sink and drainer just here, and a huge amount of worktop space here on the left. We have got an additional worktop space just here to the right of the cooker. Not a huge amount, but in every little helps really in the motorhome world. And because of this kind of area here, this is the, there you go. So this is the external gas point fitting. This is your external water point fitting here as well. So these are both the fittings for the external sockets. Sorry to go off track there, but I just saw those in there. So yeah, because of the sort of space that you've got here, you've got loads of storage in that locker there, loads of storage under here. So there's just storage everywhere you look, to be honest. So yeah. Right, so yeah, carrying on the layout. So we've got obviously cooker just here on the right hand side, full grill and oven there as well. This is the biggest style of fridge that you could buy when the vehicle was made. So this is a really huge fridge. Additional storage up top, huge wardrobe just here, and then we've got your fixed, what you call a transverse bed. So transverse meaning that it goes full width left to right of the vehicle, and then along with that obviously you get loads more storage. So loads and loads of storage up and over the top, and then a huge garage underneath that you can get to from these two little hatches down here. You got a curtain that separates this rear end just here, and obviously you've got your full-size bathroom here as well. So again, absolutely massive shower at the back of the vehicle here, separate shower, and toilet and sink. So yeah, really, really good layout, super popular. So what I'll do is I'll start by showing you anything that isn't kind of common knowledge, if you like. Not that it's common knowledge, I didn't really mean that, but I mean anything that's maybe not original or not, I don't know, things that aren't quite self-explanatory, if that makes any sense. Right, so I'll start up here behind the driver's seat in this sort of locker at the top just here. So this is what we'd call the power supply unit. So in this case it's a Sargent EC200, which is like an industry standard power supply unit. So this power supply unit, as you can probably imagine by the name, basically is the heart of the vehicle. So everything electronic comes to this unit here and then gets sent around the vehicle wherever it needs to go to from here. Okay, so when you're hooked up on the mains, you will notice that you'll have a red light up here on the charger one here if you've got the charger switched on. Okay, so this is your mains powered charger and will only come on when the hookup is plugged in. Below that, related to the hookup again, we've got your trip switches. So RCD on the left and MCBs on the right. So these will all do individual things, which if you have a little look at this diagram, if at the bottom just here, it will tell you exactly which appliance is powered by which MCB. Okay. And to the left, we've got 8 fuses down here, which also have a little diagram telling you what they all do, but this is all 12 volt related. So this is all kind of like, perhaps the lights or the water pump, stuff like that, things that are powered via the leisure battery. So have a little check in those if you get any issues. Okay, so that's your power supply unit. You haven't got to do anything with it. You haven't got to press any buttons or anything like that. Leave it as it is. But I'm just telling you that is where the sort of heart of the vehicle is there. Now we've got, to the right of this, we've got all of the sort of factory fitted entertainment system controls. So depending on what you want to use, if you want to use it, that is, then you can have a little play with all of this, but these are all just the on and off switches for that little screen that I showed you in the front. In the next locker along, we have got your TV aerial and TV aerial booster. So really simple. The booster at the back has got an on and off switch, top left hand side, and basically that just boosts the signal that you get from this aerial. Now the aerial itself, to move it, you undo this nut at the top and then you can push it up and move it around to wherever you want to go to. Okay, so basically do it until you get a decent green light coming on inside here. Okay, you probably can't tell on the video, but the light is kind of like just very slightly changing color all the time because it's just sort of getting a slightly better signal as and when. So have a little go with that, see if you can get a green light in there, and then you should have a decent signal coming through. Okay, so that's those sort of higher lockers just there. As I said, I will put that little bit on just there properly. Customer has asked for us to do a couple of little jobs to the vehicle, so we have done those. Things like this little piece here was a little bit loose, so we've sorted that out. A couple of bits of trim around the bottoms and stuff like that. So we've done all the jobs that were asked of us. Just sort of little teething things really. So what should I show next? So we've got this locker up here, which is like an original glass cupboard, if you like. Oh, and the little skylight up here. So this is what you call a turbo vent. Okay, so basically it works as a normal skylight. You twist it open like this, like I'm doing now. And then if you want to use it as like an extractor for when you're cooking, which is hence why they put them here. If you want to use it as an extractor, then you will go whichever way it is that blows the air out, sucks the air out. So let me just work out which one it is. So not this one. So we want to go on the up option here. Okay, so the position where it is now is actually not blowing any air in at all. It's just sucking all the air out. So it's actually working as an extractor right now. Okay. Vice versa, if it's a very, very hot day, I can go the other way, which is the button facing towards the back of the vehicle, and it will blow air in. So having that skylight open and blowing the air in from outside creates a really nice, cool environment just here in the sort of kitchen area. It's like a really, really good alternative to having a big aircon unit on the roof and getting no light in whatsoever. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to do that, but there it is. So I'll just close this back down again before I forget, because I do have a habit of that. Now, it's also, just on that point there, it's also very, very important to remember that you make sure, please make sure that you put your skylights down before you start driving. The amount of times that I've seen it over the years, just seeing people driving down the motorway at 60 miles an hour with their skylight wide open, it makes me cringe. It really does. These skylights are about £1,000 or more each to buy. So please, same with the windows really. They're just as expensive and difficult to get hold of. And so just please don't drive down the motorway with these open. In fact, just don't drive anywhere with them open at all. Okay, now I will be honest, we've actually had to change this skylight. This is a new skylight here. The original one had a very small crack in the corner of it, so we just wanted to change it and make sure the customer was happy and didn't get any issues. So we have replaced this for a new skylight. Okay, this is all new. All right, the one at the back is absolutely fine, no issues with that whatsoever. So we have left that, obviously, just due to how expensive they are really. But there you go. So what I'll do now is I'll show you through the control panel, which is up above the door, and then I'll show you through all of the appliances as well. So the control panel up here above the door is a fairly straightforward one. It's the corresponding Sargent control panel to match the power supply unit in the corner. So we've got a main power switch on the top left-hand side, which I've got on at the moment already. So a bit tricky to actually see on the screen here on the video, so I will just try a little bit harder there. Okay, so we've got a main home screen just here. Now if I flick through, we've got timers, alarms, clock time, don't worry about the water tank fill, pump select, also don't worry about that. Battery current, so that's going to be telling you how many amps are being drawn from the battery at any one time, either drawn or being put in. So if you've just got the hookup plugged in and nothing's being drawn, then it'll either say 0 or it'll say plus something. Okay, because there's more power being put in than there is taking out. So if I carry on, external temperature, wastewater level, freshwater level, vehicle battery voltage, leisure battery voltage, and back to the home screen. So all of that stuff there, all of that information, so your freshwater level, your wastewater level, battery voltages, things like that, are all really important things to have access to. If you're going to be wanting to use the boiler and you're going to want to draw the water through the tank, then obviously you need to check that you've got water in the fresh tank first. Same goes for if you want to use all of your lights and you want to use your power, you just have to double check that you've definitely got power in that leisure battery before you go ahead and try to use it. Okay, so to the right of this switch here, this little button here that you can see has 2 batteries on it. Now this is a bit of an unusual one. well, it's not unusual. It's just they've all got this option on the control panels when they're this type. But the reason I say it's unusual is that it's a button that you very, very, very rarely will actually have to use. So basically what that button does is it switches the battery that's being used for the power in the back end of the van. So what I mean by that is if I press that button on, it will actually switch over to the engine battery to power the back end of the vehicle. Now that's great, and it gives you that option that if your leisure battery goes flat and you desperately need some power, then you can switch it over and use the engine battery for a while. But the obvious issue with that is that if you do use the engine battery for too long, you're going to end up stuck in a field and you're not going to be able to start the van up. Okay, so the only reason you would ever use this button here is if you're hooked up on the mains and you want to charge the engine battery. So not only would it change the battery that powers the back end of the van, it will also change the battery that's being charged by the electric hookup charger. So if your engine battery is flat and you want to charge it up via your electric hookup, then turn that button on just there and it will start charging the engine battery as opposed to the leisure. Okay, otherwise just please ignore that little button there. You're unlikely ever to need to use it, really. Now you've got, next to that, we've got a water pump switch. When I turn the water pump on, the pump will run until it gets up to pressure. Okay, that's totally normal because it works on a pressurized system. So when you turn the pump on, it won't turn itself off until it gets to pressure. So in other words, if you've got a tap open, your pump won't turn off because there's pressure being taken out from the tap. Okay. And the last button is your aux switch. Now the aux button, depending on what sort of things you've got in the vehicle, the aux button will power certain things. It may or may not power your TV. It might do, you know, you'll have to sort of work that out really, because it's one of those things that sometimes they don't power anything. But if you've had certain things added in the past, then it might power those little things and etc. Okay. But to be honest, that's it for the control panel. You got those three switches there that you need to have on really for general stuff. And the rest of it is all just checking all of your levels and things like that. Okay. So whilst we're talking about the water, I'll carry on with that. So the water system in a motorhome is a lot different to your one at home, really. It's not the same as that at all. So there are a few things that you do have to understand about it. And it's a very, very simple process, but I just have to explain it to you. So because you've got a boiler on the vehicle, all right, you've got a boiler in the vehicle, which is down here somewhere, underneath these seats, somewhere, underneath this one here to our right. In fact, I should have done this before the video started, but I will just chuck these over so I can show you it. Okay, so I'm just going to turn the water pump off quickly. Right, so the boiler itself is the grey unit over in the corner just here. Okay, now you haven't got to do anything with the boiler in this sense. You haven't got to do anything with it just here, but there is something very important I need to show you down here. So this little yellow handle that you can see here looks a little bit unimportant, but it is very important. So the yellow tab is actually the drain off point for the boiler in this particular van. So if you need to drain the boiler out for winter, so in other words, if you're not going to be using the van over winter, then you need to drain the boiler out from that little handle there. So to do that, you literally just lift up on the yellow tab and it will drain all of the water out from inside the boiler onto the floor. Okay, now I will say one thing is to bear in mind that when you lift that tab upright, if you've got the pump switched on, it will pump every single bit of water out from the fresh tank out onto the floor, which actually, to be honest, is sometimes a good idea, a good way of pumping every last bit of water out, because it physically pushes the water out rather than just draining it. Okay, but yeah, so make sure that you lift that upright for winter when you're not going to be using the van. Now the reason that I've shown you this now is that as I was about to start saying about the water system, you do also have to make sure that if you are going to use the water system, you have to make sure that you actually have that down flat. Because as I said a minute ago, if you have that upright, all the water that you try and use is just going to be pumping out onto the floor. So it's never going to get to pressure. Okay, so make sure that's laying down flat if you want to use it, and upright for winterizing before winter. Okay, so once you've made sure that that's laying down flat, then you can turn the water pump on, come over to the sink and draw the water through. So you've got a little bit of air in the system there. And in fact, by the sounds of it, I don't think there's much water in the fresh tank. I didn't even pay attention to what it said. So let's just have a little look. Don't know if you can see it on the video. Fresh water, 25%. Yeah, so we've got a little bit of water in this fresh tank. Just got a little bit of air in the system. So this is a good opportunity to show you this anyway. So, it's making a bit of a racket. Let me just turn it off. Right. Good example. Okay, this is kind of what I was going to explain to you now anyway. So when you're trying to use the freshwater system in the vehicle, or the hot water side of it, whatever you're trying to use, if it's water related, you do have to run through the process that I'm going to show you now. So basically checking that there's a little bit of water in the fresh tank and then turning your water pump on will then obviously give you access to using the taps. Now once you've got that option, once you check those two things, you should then come over to the tap and just do what I was doing then. Well, I was making a bit of a racket, so I couldn't really show you on the video, but lift the tap up on the hot side and the cold side just to remove any air that might be in the system. Okay, now I can pretty much guarantee that there'll be air in the system every time you go and use it, whether it's, you know, unless you've just literally used it half an hour ago, that's a bit different. But if you've left it over a week, for example, then when you get to using the vehicle, there will be air in the system a little bit. Okay, it's completely normal. It's just something that happens. You can't really help it. But lifting the tap up and getting the air coming out through the tap just takes that, you know, air that's been drawn into the system out of the system and makes it all come up to pressure and work really nicely. So in other words, the reason this is so important is that if you're going to try and use the boiler, as in if you're going to get the water hot, you have to make sure that there is actually water in the boiler first. So to know that the boiler is full up of water, you'll be having water coming through on the tap. So because the boiler's first in line for the water on the hot side of the system, it's actually, you know, it has to be full up before it will allow any water to go to the hot side of the taps. Okay, so long story short, if you're getting water coming through on the hot side of the tap, the boiler's full. Okay, so that's the water side of things. Probably quite a boring subject, but it's just, you know, important to understand how that all works. I will then show you the heating. I think that's the next thing just here. So the heating is very, very straightforward again. So this is a gas or mains electric space heater. So on the left hand side, this little dial here is the gas valve. Okay, now if we have a little look down this little peephole here, you can see we've got a nice blue flame at the bottom. Now it's quite a cold day, so I have actually had this on the whole time. So to get this to light up, if I just turn it all the way off quickly before I show you. So have a little check in here again. Flame's gone out. All right, it's pretty obvious. You can see it's not lit anymore. Okay, and I'm just going to let that cool down just for a minute whilst I show you something else. Okay, so on the right hand side, whether you're using it on the gas or on the mains, doesn't matter. You have got a blown air option here as well. Now, any of the little circular beige vents that you see down there are what the air gets blown around to. So basically, push this little lever here to the left and then choose a number, depending on how fast you want the fan to blow the air. And that will then just start pumping the air around to those little vents. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you're using it on gas or the mains, it's the same blown air heating just there. Okay, so as I was saying, to light it up on the gas, very, very easy. Twist this around to about 2 or 3 and you'll hear, you probably can't hear it on the video, but in person you'll start to hear a little clicking noise down here. So all I'm going to do, whilst it's clicking, I'm going to push the button down and you'll see that the pilot flame will come on. Okay, so that's our pilot flame lit up. And then all I'm going to do is lift up on this and twist it all the way around until I get the main flame kicking in. So if we watch what happens. So it's actually so hot because I've had it on for a while that the main flame isn't kicking in just yet. But when you go to use it, when you twist this dial round, you'll see the main flame kick straight in, and it will basically come in and out as and when it needs to when it gets to a certain temperature, which is why it's not coming on now. But yeah, when you go to use this, pilot flame on, twist it around, and then the main flame will kick in, and that's how you use it. Okay, so the gas option on here will get the system very, 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 very hot. Okay, so just please bear that in mind. Do not hang socks over the front of this. You will char your socks, which you do not want to do, obviously. So just bear that in mind. Okay. Now, the other option that you've got is the mains electric. So if you want to use it on the mains, I'll just have a little look in here. You should have a little switch, I believe. Not in this cupboard. Somewhere else. But anyway, you have a little switch somewhere to allow you to use this on the mains. Okay, now the switch is obviously on at the moment, so don't worry too much about this switch for now. But if you've got the hookup plugged in, then you can use the heating on the mains as well. So if you want to use it on the mains, it's very simple. Quite literally choose 500, 1000 or 2000, and they are all different amounts of watts. Okay, that's different wattages for the space heater on the mains. Now I will say, if you are going to use it on the mains, I would recommend not using it on 2000, purely because of the fact of the amount of power that they draw. Okay, so the 2000 option will draw a hell of a lot of power. If you're plugged into a 10 amp post or something like that, you're going to be pretty much maxing yourself out straight away by using it on 2000. So I would recommend either using it on 500 or 1000. Okay, but they are your options for the heating. So it's really, really simple. Just choose one of the options and then twist the dial around in the middle to get it to come on. Simple as that. Okay, so that's your heating, all done by that little unit down there. So with the boiler, if I just have a little look-see. Okay, so the boiler itself has also got the option of gas or electric. I've just had a little look down there to see where the switch is, and I can see it. So if you want to get the water hot, you've got the option up here of using it on the gas, which is quite simply by twisting the little dial here once to the right, and then setting your temperature. So you've got 30 all the way through to 70, and that is just the water temperature inside the boiler. Okay, so to switch that off, back to the middle, make sure the green light goes out. So that is the hot water on the gas. Now the other option, as I said a minute ago, is your hot water on the mains. So if you want to use it on the mains, have a little look down here. Next to the boiler, underneath this seat, is this little beige switch. So this little switch here is the hot water on mains electric. So if I turn that on, red light comes on, and that's just telling us that the hot water is on. So make sure that you turn that off when you're finished with it. It's really important that you do that. But yeah. So, hot water and heating, showing you all that. The cooker area is this upright system here. So we've got the option on here, well, basically every option. You've got the option of gas burners, so 3 gas burners, gas grill and gas oven, all with an ignition switch just here, which I will have to have a little look into to see if it's working. So the ignition switch is there. You've then got the electric hob at the back, which will light up red when it's on. So that's just the electric ring there at the back. Okay, so it's very, very simple. I will have a little look into these igniters, see what's going on with those. So, to be honest, I very rarely run through these because it's just, you know, they are what they are. They're pretty straightforward things. Make sure that you open the glass lid before you start using the grill, is all I would say, because the grill's vent is actually this piece here in the middle. So you will crack the glass if you try and use the grill without the glass lid open. Okay, in the bathroom, we've got obviously the toilet on the left-hand side, bit of storage here in the middle, and your full-size shower over on the right. Now the shower itself has actually got a little mixer thing there, so you can set your temperature and adjust it like that. It's just like a household shower point, so I don't need to show you how to use that. It's very, very easy. Also, you've got the light up there in the shower room, and a switch under here to turn both lights on and off. So the toilet is normally the only part that I actually explain on the motorhomes, because it's, you know, you might not have used one of these ones before. So basically, obviously, as you've just seen there, you can spin the whole thing around if you want to. Now press the blue button down with your water pump switch turned on to get the water pumping around into the cassette, into the bowl, sorry. Okay, so that's how you get your flush fluid pumping around. You've then got a grey lever on the left-hand side to empty the cassette. No, sorry, to empty into the cassette. Pull the handle towards you, and that will let everything inside the bowl here drain down into the cassette. Okay, make sure that you push the handle back again when you're finished, and that's it, ready to use again. So, very simple in the bathroom. And then the last thing is the fridge. So, the fridge itself is very, very straightforward and easy to use as long as you don't overcomplicate it, which a lot of people do manage to do. So, a freezer compartment at the top, fridge at the bottom. Okay, you have got little latches that will stop the fridge from opening, but just bear in mind that you have also got a travel catch here at the bottom. So if you close this over and forget to put it back again, just, well, try not to do that basically, because you will just yank them off. They're not very strong. Okay, strong enough for holding it shut when you're driving, but not by, you know, not strong enough to yank on. And yeah. Anyway, so the way that you use these fridges is very straightforward. If I turn it off quickly, press and hold this button here, turns the screen off. Okay, press and hold to bring it back on, and you'll get a little LCD screen come on just like that. So straight away, it's automatically chosen mains electric. So that's what that little symbol there means. So when I press on this button here, I will then have the option of going through our different options. Okay, so we've got automatic. So that will automatically choose one of the three options for you, whether it's 12-volt electric, mains electric, or gas. Okay, so the 12-volt, the little battery symbol, will only work when your engine is running. Okay, so you've got what's called a split charger. And what the split charger does is it takes some of the power from the engine, sends it back to the leisure battery. Okay, so that basically when you're driving, the leisure battery is being charged up via the engine. Okay, so pretty much every motorhome has that. But you've also got another cable that runs back to the fridge, allowing you to keep the fridge cold whilst you're driving via the engine. So obviously you can't have the gas on when you're driving, so you can't use it on gas, and you can't have the electric hookup plugged in when you're driving, so you can't use it there. So the only option that you have for when you're driving is the 12-volt electric, the little battery symbol. Okay. Now, the other thing I will say with all motorhome fridges is that the 12-volt electric is not powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. So just bear that in mind. You have to make sure that you pre-cool the fridge before you leave, either on the gas or on the mains electric. Okay, so bearing that in mind, let's just say we're going to go on holiday tomorrow morning. I might come out to the vehicle the night before if possible. If not possible, make sure that you allow a good 3 or 4 hours to get the fridge completely cold. So I'm going to choose one of the two options that I've got to get the fridge cold. So gas is one of the options. Just select it, and then basically the fridge would light up by itself. Okay. The other option will be this little mains symbol here. Make sure that you leave it long enough to get it cold, and then switch over to 12-volt here for when the engine's running. That's giving us a fault code number 10, which means that there's no power coming in for the 12-volt, which is because the engine isn't running. Alternatively, as I said, you can just use it on the auto option. and it should automatically choose which energy it thinks is the best. Okay, so if I didn't have the hookup plugged in right now, it would have automatically chosen gas. The only other thing on it is this little switch on the right hand side, which is your temperature gauge. And on the very side of this, we've got another little switch at the back, which is for the additional fans that are on the back of the fridge, which will just help with the cooling of the fridge on the gas if you've got it on in the peak of summer. So if it's seriously, seriously hot and humid outside, it might be worth putting those that switch on just there to allow a little bit of extra air pumping around in the back of the fridge. So you've got in the wardrobe back here, we've got a load of storage space, obviously, full wardrobe. The carpet's just here in there as well, and a few bits that the previous owner has left behind for you. And then, as I said, the full-size bed. So I think I've covered everything. I don't think there's much that I've missed out or anything I've missed out, hopefully. But if there is, or if there's anything else you want going through, just give us a shout. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.